Everything you need to know about traveling to Rio de Janeiro as a black woman. Oi, bom dia, meu nome é Valeria. My name is Valerie, and I just came back from the most beautiful 3 weeks in Rio de Janeiro. I want to point out and preface this by saying that I spent 3 weeks there. Someone's perspective after spending 3 months or living there is going to be different to what I have to say. These are just my takeaways, my experiences, the things I've learned and picked up as someone who I feel does extensive research even before going to a place, and my on-the-ground experiences. Brazil is massive, so when we're talking and I say in Brazil, please note that I'm speaking about Rio specifically, because similar to the USA, Brazil has states because it's that big. Rio de Janeiro is both a state and is the name of the capital city in Rio de Janeiro. With that being said, the language is Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, and I personally I'm of the opinion that the more you can speak Brazilian Portuguese, which has its dialects in different places again, but the more you can speak Brazilian Portuguese, the better your experience will be. So even before we get into this video, understand that there might be some things that if you're not prepared to learn the language might not be as easy for you. I do, however, recommend that you do learn some Brazilian Portuguese, because I think it's not a great idea to go to a place and expect everybody to speak English, and it's on a historical level, not that we're going to get into it too much. Brazil was colonized by Portuguese people, so the colonized language is Portuguese. If you were to go to my home country, which is Zambia, you get on fine if you're an English speaker, because we were colonized by the English, so people speak English. But when you go to a place like Brazil, which is in Latin America, you're not hearing English. So yeah, again, I think that the amount you enjoy yourself in the day-to-day passing interactions and with Brazilians will definitely be determined by how much Portuguese you can speak and understand. Just learn the basics to get you by at least. Yes, of course, use a translator. There's going to be moments in which it will just be so much more useful to be able to falar um pouco. Number one, before you get there, learn some Brazilian Portuguese, please. I said this just now and I'm saying it again because it's important. Learn some Brazilian Portuguese. How you're going to do this is, cool, use a Duolingo. What I did was watch Peppa Pig in Portuguese, how them kids learn how to learn whatever language they speak through Peppa Pig. There is a person on YouTube called Virginia, and she is amazing. I learned a lot from her as well. I changed all the programs that I watch to Brazilian Portuguese with English subtitles. You have to dedicate yourself to this and pick up something. Do thorough research. If you're going to Rio and then you're stopping off in Bahia, you want to go to Sao Paulo, learn the culture, learn the do's and don'ts. Do that by watching YouTube videos like this. Another thing that really helped me with learning Brazilian Portuguese was pages like It's Simply Eve. Absolutely love her page. Not only does she help teach the isms of different languages, but because she's traveled there and does travel trips to these places, she can tell you the ins and the outs. So I learned a lot of on the ground information from her, and I actually bumped into her whilst I was in Brazil, which was so great to see, because I was like, you're the reason I'm here, because you gave me so much confidence with all of the knowledge. So yes, It's Simply Eve, and there's a plethora of other creators who cover places like Brazil extensively, Rio extensively, Bahia extensively, Sao Paulo extensively. Dive into that. Don't go to these places whatless. I promise you, you have a better time for doing your research. When's the best time to visit Rio? The best time to visit is between December to March. This is considered their summer period, so it's great for some winter sun if you're coming from the UK. You can also experience New Year's there, which is a sight to behold, and I am yet to see it. And the carnaval season, which starts in around about mid-February and ends at the beginning of March. The days move around because it's not the same all the time. But yeah, if carnival is your thing, it's the biggest carnival in the entire world, I think it is. Those are the best times. Visiting outside of these times doesn't mean you're going to have the worst time ever. However, Rio does rain, and there are times in which the weather is cooler, but the benefits of traveling outside of that peak time, which most people will be traveling in, is that it would be less crowded in the places that you're going to. You get a better feel of everything. Things will be cheaper, because during peak season, which is something that we'll speak about separately, things are more expensive between December to March, which again I will mention further in this video. It's best to book as in advance for things as possible. How to get to Rio de Janeiro. So if you're coming from the UK, you have a few options. You can either go direct. I think British Airways does a direct flight, which is around about 11 hours, or you can do a layover. Now, as someone that enjoys traveling, I think and I would encourage you to do the layover, because you can experience two countries whilst, you know, traveling so far out. So for me, I stopped over in Bogota, Colombia, and honestly I did everything there is to do in Bogota, Colombia in the time that I had. So my layover was around about like 10 hours. I hit the ground running, did everything that there was to do in Bogota. The other layover stops were Panama and Sao Paulo. So again, if you're trying to see more of Brazil but you don't want to spend too much time in Sao Paulo and it's not really your thing after all the research you've done, you could stop over for a few hours, get a feel of it, maybe check out a food place that you wanted to, then hop on that flight again to get to Rio de Janeiro. I flew with Avianca Airlines. I have no complaints. I feel no type of way about them. They did what they had to do. It wasn't like a luxury experience. However, food was provided. It is a really long flight and it was on time. So yeah, book in advance unless you're made of money. When it comes to your flights to get to Rio, as much in advance as possible will save you money. I personally booked through trip.com because it had like a 15% offer for anybody that was booking through their app, and I compared it to the direct airlines, Avianca, LATAM. I'm saying LATAM is LA, LATAM. I can't say that without an accent. Scan those websites. Skyscanner was what led me to trip.com because it was cheaper through trip.com, but then it was suggested on Skyscanner. You can set price drop alarms and emails from Skyscanner and trip.com, which is what helped me as well. When I saw that flight drop to under £500, I said, yeah, let me book that thing. But again, the price that I paid to get there was because I was traveling during the peak season and I didn't book as in advance. I booked like 2-3 months in advance. I'm saying be prepared 6 months in advance. Plan the trip. But hey, if you're made of money, you can do it sooner. Where to stay when you're in Rio de Janeiro, and I am speaking specifically about more inner city, but I did venture out as well, and we'll talk about that. When you say Rio de Janeiro, you're basically saying Copacabana, so that is one of the top destinations in which tourists stay at. There's also Ipanema. Right next door is Leblon. So these are the more expensive areas if you were paying for an Airbnb or a hotel. Safety wise, they are the safer option, but equally I would say that if there's loads of tourists, there's also loads of opportunity for theft to happen. And because there's so much happening, there's so many people, there's that kind of fine balance. But again, never experienced anything personally that was bad. I never felt like I was clutching my pearls either. It was a beautiful time. I personally found Copacabana a bit too touristic and not as pretty as Ipanema. I loved the sunset at Ipanema, and I also loved Barra da Tijuca. We'll get into that. So the first place that I personally stayed was in Centro. It's slightly further out. It's not as close to the coast, but equally it's about 15 minutes to get to the coast if you're on an Uber or a motorbike. People recommend staying in Lapa, but as a solo female traveler, and Centro is close enough to Lapa to dip into it or make a turn and be there, I wouldn't recommend it, because that's the place where at night things go down and you see all the wild stories happening in Lapa. So I personally, girl to girl, sister to sister, I would say don't stay in Lapa. Santa Teresa is close to it as well, so it just depends on where. Again, doing your research, are you on the safer side of things? But Centro is close enough that you can go and have the nightlife, close enough that you can go get the coastline, and you're near the, I'm not even going to try to butcher the staircase name, Iskandar Noodles. So the second half of my trip I spent in Barra da Tijuca. I specifically stayed in a place called Jacapuragua. It is further out. I'm not telling you to go stay there, but Barra da Tijuca by and large, I recommend that you check it out. The coastline is amazing. The water is crystal, agua cristalina. It is beautiful. You're hassled less, so it's not as hectic as the beaches which are on Ipanema and Copacabana. You do get to just rest. There are beautiful beaches, the food is great, and it's a newer place, so the buildings around are newer. You get more rooftops. It's a little bit more, so between me and you, girlie, if you're going and you want to dress up, there's the nice restaurants in Barra da Tijuca like Pineapple where you can get dressed and all that type of stuff. There is that in Copacabana even, of course, but Barra da Tijuca just gives me that vibe, and I enjoyed that vibe. Jacapuragua is further out, but it's Barra da Tijuca. See? Glad. Things to do whilst you're in Rio de Janeiro. Myself a little snack. Where's my water? Wait. Okay. Rio is a massive place. I can't exaggerate how massive this place is. So there is always something to do. From the touristic stuff, which is Christ the Redeemer, Sugarloaf Mountain, Pau de Açúcar, Two Brothers Mountains. If you like hiking, you can hike those places. Dois Irmãos is the name in Portuguese. There's always something to do, to the point where if you're that kind of person that gets FOMO easily, it might feel as if, oh, I want to be everywhere at the same time. What I would recommend you do is have an outline of an itinerary of what you want to do for the time that you're there, especially if your trip is like 10 days sort of thing or less. And then also be connected with people who are on the ground, who live there, who maybe know how to navigate the place a lot better than you do. I'm in a group chat called Why Not, and if you want to be added, do let me know. It was a group chat made by Giddy, and it was good being in there because even though I was a solo traveler, I was aware of the things that was happening. Brazil's the kind of place that you meet people and just speak, say hello, and you will make friends, and you easily know that there's something happening tonight, and you end up going to this party on a mountain and da. If you're into favela parties, you make the right friend and you'll be safe when you're going there. So again, it's just great to pre-plan what you want to do, pre-book whatever it is you want to do, and when you're pre-booking, use Brazilian websites. What I will do is I'll make my absolute best to find the links of the Brazilian websites to book tickets for things like Pau de Açúcar, the Sugarloaf Mountain, Christ the Redeemer, because it's more expensive when you'll get your I'm a fan of Get Your Guide, but it was cheaper to book with the Brazilian websites and in person. If you are doing a last minute thing, I promise you, if you're down to wait in a queue and you're not in a rush, then I'm not gonna lie, that's what I did, because I was not in a rush whatsoever. I did I'm saying it, all in my head, it's all mixed up with the Portuguese. The Sugarloaf Mountain, I went and I stood in the queue. I was blessed and highly favored by the Most High Yahweh, because I only waited about 45 minutes to get up there, and I got the sunset perfect. And when it came to Christ the Redeemer, I promise you there was no queue. I got there. Christ the Redeemer, get there early. Maybe I'll do a separate video on just conduct in Brazil. Get there early. I was there for Christ the Redeemer at like 7:30 in the morning, and it was still packed because of the day that I went. But get there early. There wasn't much of a queue, and I paid what, £20, like, for the prices that I was seeing it online to what I paid in person. Big difference. But yeah, plan in advance, because when I say there's things to do, Rio's a city that feels like it never sleeps, and me who likes my sleep, I feel like there is a plethora of things to do for everybody. I'm a sightseer, so I went to Niterói, which is on the other side of the water. It's a less visited place. It's got a beautiful museum there. There's things to see and things to do for everyone. There's a plethora of markets as well. Bazar do Sara, which is near Central, which is like a market area. Loads of fresh fruit markets, clothing markets. You can see loads of handmade clothes. How much does everything cost, and do I need cash? Honestly, the most expensive thing about Brazil is your flight to get there and your accommodation, in that order. Once you're there, dude, if you're coming from the UK, be mindful, and I want to recommend that you don't overreact and act as if everything is cheap, because be mindful that this is people's like everyday life, and there are people struggling to pay that price because of the economic system in Brazil. But it is cheap in comparison to the things that you would pay. Like your average drink is costing you £1 to £2 for a drink that we would be paying 15 in this country. A meal can easily be £5-10, and that's including a starter and a drink sort of thing. It just depends on where you're moving and how you're moving. There was times in which I was having a mum and dad's, which is a family-owned business, and that's a lot cheaper. I recommend you travel like that more often and just get stuck in. But then equally, if you're going to a fine dining place, somewhere more like Pineapple, somewhere a little bit more upper end, then you will be paying a bit more. It's still cheaper than what you would pay here, but it will be more on the expensive end. When it comes to being on the beach and having cash, there's no point in which you need cash. I literally was worried about this myself, but everybody has a card machine. Whenever you're paying for something by card, always look at the card machine and see the price and know what you're paying, know the conversion, take your time and then pay, because that's one scam that happens often, which is paying for something because you're not looking at the price and then being charged a whole lot more than you were meant to. It happened to me once towards the end of my trip, where a woman was trifling and she tried to charge me £17 for a kanga, which is like one of the dresses, not dresses, but the things that you wear when you're on the beach as a cover-up. Oh, I corrected her, but again, if you don't know your Brazilian Portuguese, she might have gotten away with that, but I told her, amiga. The Brazilian currency is reals, which they pronounce reais. The conversion is £1 British to 7 reais. Now, little fun fact about the language: if there's an R at the beginning of a sentence, it's usually at the beginning of a word, then instead of it being a R sound that we're used to, it's a H sound. So reais instead of reals, and Rio de Janeiro instead of Rio de Janeiro. If you feel more comfortable having cash, then feel free to do so, but there was no point in which I needed it. The only time I needed cash was because the card machine wasn't working and I was traveling far out of the city on a road trip. Outside of that, I use my card every single time, contactless to be precise. What is food in Rio like? Comida. Now, again, Rio is massive, Brazil is massive, so there's regional foods, there's regional dishes. One thing that I really liked, and this is just a small thing in Rio de Janeiro, is farofa. Farofa is toasted cassava, which gets put on any like grilled meat you can put it on, and it just adds a little crunch to the food. Now, people in Rio de Janeiro, cariocas is what you would call them, are a big fan of grilled meat, so you see a lot of open fires and barbecue type food. Barbecued beef, barbecued chicken, acai, fresh fruits. You've got something called tapioca, not the bubble tea, but it's a cassava based wrap that you can have either sweet or savory. There's lots of healthy food that can very quickly be unhealthy depending on how you dress them up, but Brazilians love their beef, and Brazilians love, again, I'm speaking from just Rio, love rice, white rice. How can we not talk about feijão, a feijoada, which is black beans with white rice, and they usually put some batatas fritas, some chips, some fries with that too, and some vegetables, some salad, and again, that's like the vegetarian. And then if you add your meat as well to that plate, or they have feijoada, which is pork or different types of meats in the stew of the black beans. Best thing ever. So as someone who is into their fitness as a personal trainer, I thoroughly enjoyed eating in Brazil because I'm on what they're on. We want the same things from our food. Be warned that they do enjoy putting salt on that beef. So what you want to do is eat your beef with something so that the salt is, and you can always ask to not have the salt on top when you learn the language. Getting around Rio de Janeiro. Now, we're talking specifically city because this isn't the same for everywhere. There is a metro line which is super useful. If you're coming from London specifically, understanding the metro lines in Rio is a piece of cake. There's only 3 lines, line 1, line 2, and line 4. Line 4 is kind of like connected to line 2, and I think that's why there's like no 3. Anyway, 3 lines. It stops you off at all the major points: Copacabana, Ipanema. Once you get off, it's about like a 9 or an 8 minute walk depending on where you're stopping and where you're going to the coastline from the stations. And it's just the best thing ever. You come out of the metro and then you're into like this new world, and you're inner, so you're like in Copacabana and you see the inner workings of Copacabana. Then you walk up straight and then you open and you're at the coastline. It's a beautiful thing. The metro starts more like on the central end, goes just past central, and then ends in Jardim Oceanico, which is Barra Tijuca. So if you're traveling between those places, it's effortless, it's seamless, and it only costs £1, at most £1.18 for any trip that you're doing. There's a metro and there's motor taxis, which had my heart. If you're going somewhere super quick, now I personally only did it for short journeys. I know some people that did it for longer journeys. you can get a motorbike. With the motorbikes, you order them just as you would on the Uber app, and you get a helmet when they come. So if you were like me, I tended to cover my head with a head wrap and then put the helmet on so that I didn't get helmet hair, and God knows where those helmets were. Sometimes I just wore it anyway, but they are super safe. You have to be mindful. Again, your driver might be a little bit erratic, but it's part of the fun. I'm not gonna lie. You hold on to the side, you ain't gotta hold on to him, and they take you around. Sometimes if you're in the midst of traffic or you want to beat traffic, they are the better option because they get between all of the traffic. And the second option when you're navigating traffic is the metro. There's times in which people are, let's get Uber. Yes, the Uber is cheap, but the metro is, there's no traffic sort of thing. When you're getting on a bike, a 15-minute ride is costing you like 80p. And then of course there are the Uber cars. Uber's super cheap as well. There was times in which I did like a 40-minute journey and it was like £5.41, and I was wondering, again, thank you. I didn't always, but I tended to tip in moments in which I was like, nah, surely. Yeah, Uber, metro, and motorbikes are your best friends. There's not really a need to rent a car when you're in Rio, especially if you're staying in the city. If you're planning on doing long drives out, that's different. And if you're staying in mainly Barra da Tijuca, then yes, get yourself a car. It was not needed. Music and dance culture, because yes, there is Brazilian funk, which is great. Baile de favela, great. But there's pagode, there is samba, there's bossa nova. There is a plethora of music types that you're going to hear, and it's not just funk. I actually didn't hear funk as much as I thought I would, and the beauty in things like pagode, like the soul, when you translate the lyrics and you understand like the beauty in their voices, please get into it. One thing I will say is from landing, music was playing, because Brazilians, they love their music, they love to dance. So even in the airport, music was playing. When you're doing a food shop, music is playing. You're on the beach, multiple people are playing music. The stands which are selling acai and coco jagua, the coconut water, music is playing. So do not feel shy to break into a little dance. Do not feel shy because they're there for it and they do it themselves and they break into songs. It's almost like a musical. Touching on the music and also things to do, there's a place called Pedro de Sal, which happens, it's a street party that happens every Monday and every Friday. I didn't have the best time, however, I can understand why. You may enjoy it. It is a very cultured street party. You have to be super careful, be mindful with your stuff, like have it real close, tucked underneath, and enjoy the vibes. Music, dance, people. I would recommend going on the Friday because it's less of the tourists, but at the same, because less people know that it happens on a Friday as well. But which one tickles your fancy? I went on a Monday. I won't be going back, but again, it's something to do and it's an experience with the music. People, they are, first of all, very, very easy on the eyes. Brazilians are beautiful. There is an excess in beauty in this place, in every kind. There was not one type of beauty, it was a plethora. Their hearts are beautiful, they're friendly, they're welcoming, and as a solo traveler, I really felt welcomed. I will say as well, I may look Brazilian to some people, so maybe as they were interacting with me, they felt like I was Brazilian and took me in, which is why this video is so important, because if you look like me, a shade light, a shade dark, or anything like that, you may be confused for a Brazilian, and that works in your favor. There isn't one archetype of a Brazilian, but how you carry yourself, the fact that you may be able to say and not say certain things, it's going to help that travel. It's another place similar to when I was in Cape Verde, where being melanated worked in my favor, and I felt beautiful, and I felt welcome, and I felt safe. We're gonna do a quick location change because one of my neighbors decided to invite like 90 members of their family in for what looks like a party, but there ain't no music and I ain't got no invite. I'm sat in the direct sun with my matcha latte and a huge bottle of water, because as a melanated person, please, I'm generally asking, why do you avoid the sun? You don't get that much to be damaged from it, and if anything, you need it because you need more vitamin D than the average person that comes from this place. Anyway, let's continue. modesty, faith in Christ whilst you're out in Rio de Janeiro. When it comes to going to church, if you don't understand the language and the culture, avoid that, because you don't know what they're praying about and you don't know what's really being taught. Yeah, there's going to be places that do translations, but from experience, it's never direct translations, and you might miss an understanding of something because the translation's not quite right. Also, this is no shade or anything towards Brazilians, but there is a lot of mixing in culture. There is candomblé, which is like ancient practices which come from the African descendants, just a mixture of beliefs. So you might be in a church thinking that, you know, it's in line with what you believe, but it's not, because there is a little added extra and just different things. So be mindful. And again, if you're more fluent, then you'd be able to vet out churches to go to a lot better. When it comes to modesty, your conviction is important, because if you are convicted, no matter where you are, you dress a particular type of way. But equally, Brazil is not the type of place where you have to be ultra modest. Me being on a beach wearing my bikini top and wearing a kanga around my legs was me being like one of the most covered up people on the beach. They are very liberal people, and for that reason, like, bikinis, it's not a problem. If you want to wear your bikini and you're feeling about if you're second guessing it, don't do it. Yeah. Equally, if you feel comfortable, again, me wearing my bikini tops because I feel no type of way. Like, I've had this conversation with the Holy Spirit numerous amount of times, especially as someone that travels. Me wearing my bikini top, like, no one was extra looking at me. I was not making anybody stumble, because there's 15,000 other people on this beach who are also wearing bikini tops. So, like, some people actually just walk around in their bikinis. So it's down to your personal conviction. So it's a conversation between you and God, regardless of where you're going anyway. You will meet people who you gel with. For example, I met people that don't drink. So as much as I knew heaps of people who were getting drunk all the time, I wasn't out with them. I was out with people that don't drink. And for that reason, the night went the way I would prefer it to go. So it's not that everybody's so bad and into, no, like, I was still in bed by 10 p.m. some days, you know? And if I wanted to be out to see things at night, there was the group of people that I knew, me and you were on the same things, and we would go and do things accordingly. Safety, the big one. Safety. If you're from London, there's a level of switched on you should be, and that switched on should just turn up by like 1 or 2 notches, in my opinion. Because the practices that you should have walking through, let's say, East London, because that's where I'm from, is the same practices that you should have when you're walking through Rio de Janeiro. Now, read the room, okay? This is where being a solo traveler and just being able to read the room is great, because there was times in which I would come out of a metro station and I realized that people are wearing their bags on their fronts. So what I would do is I'd move my backpack to my front as well. But then there was places in which I'm looking at everybody around me, everyone's phone's out. The people are crossing the road with their phone in their hand, typing. People are standing in the middle of the street typing. There's women walking by themselves. People are walking their dogs by themselves. I'm reading the room and seeing if she, who is on the phone, falarem muito português, and she's from the place, is feeling safe enough to be on her phone, walking her dog, and it's 10 p.m., there's a level of safe that I must be, that there's another person in front of her doing the same thing. And again, don't do dangerous things. Don't be like trying to leave favela parties that at midnight, or just do safe things. Do safe things, especially if you're by yourself. Make friends so that you're not by yourself when you're doing these things. You can enjoy your alone time like I did. I love being by myself, but when it was time to do an activity, for example, go to Pedro de Sal, which is a crowded place, that's when I'd couple up and meet people so that I am safe, because I am in a group who I can hold at hands on and be like, hey guys, like, do this for me. Be safe. Don't think, oh, it's not dangerous, so you drop your guard. No. And again, read the room. Don't pull out your phone when you're the only person around and you don't see too much happening. You can't read the room because you don't see how other people are moving because you're maybe by yourself. That's when you get robbed. Nothing happened to me because, again, I was reading the room. So just clued up, you know? Going back to speaking about the people, there is a culture called beijuqueiro. Now, this is the kissing culture that everybody talks about on the TikToks. Yes, Brazilians love to kiss, but it's not everywhere. You will see couples kissing, like at the beach or, you know, in passing. You'll see couples kissing, but the approaching you to kiss you only happens during the night, not just at night, but like at parties, at blocos, where someone will come up to you and offer, Beju, like, do you want to kiss? You can say no. Like, you can say no. They're not fixated on kissing you, because as much as you are special, you are loved, you are cared for, it's not you they're trying to kiss. You might have caught their attention. They think you're attractive. Maybe you looked at them in a way that you didn't realize that they thought that you were feeling them. So they come up to you and say, hey, you want to kiss? It's like a no strings attached kiss. It's just make out and leave. You will see them kiss someone else 2 minutes later. So if you say no, they're not fixated, because they will move on. And also people are like, this is why I can't go. If you don't go to the parties, and if you don't like really look at anyone, or even if you do and someone comes up to you, I promise you it's not that deep. No one is going to fixate on kissing you. Like, I promise you your lips are not in that much of a high demand. Like, it's not the biggest issue. It literally only happened to me one night of all the time that I was there. I've been to other parties and it was literally just one party where, I don't know, like, maybe I was looking real cute. It's the way I did my hair that day. As I was in the shower, a whole bunch of stuff started. A whole bunch of stuff started flooding to my mind. So let me get dressed and we will continue this conversation. Hygiene. Brazilians are sometimes called the cleanest people on earth, because they shower on average 2 to 3 times a day, or every time they do something they go and shower, and they brush their teeth 2 to 3 times a day, often carrying their toothbrushes wherever they go so that they can brush their teeth after they eat. They eat very sugary things, so it's a good idea that they brush their teeth so much. But yeah, which leads me to the next thing. Brazilians love sugary things. If you love to have a cocktail, there's extra sugar in that. Even my Greek yogurt was not Greek yogurt. I started calling it Brazilian yogurt because it was so sweet. There was no tang to it whatsoever. Which leads me to my next point, which I cannot believe I did not mention in the food segment, which is the drink of the nation is caipirinha, a caipirinha. It is made from cachaça, which is a sugarcane rum, limão, which is lemon, some ice, I think some mint gets thrown in there as well. The drink is amazing. It's divine, but sip slowly, especially if you don't drink often. Even if you do drink often, think you're a big boy, sip slowly. Know how the first one hits you. You can tell the person to make it with not too much alcohol or no alcohol, whatever you prefer, because it's a strong drink. I love it, and I had a rule whilst I was out there, 1 a day. I just feel very led to say this. If you are going to Brazil and there is a moment in which you're getting frustrated because someone's not understanding what you're saying, don't get angry that they don't understand what you're saying. Get angry that you didn't put the time and the effort into learning the language of the land, because you're in their space. They are not in yours. They are not obliged to speak English. I've said this before. I'm going to keep highlighting how important it is to know the basics. Outfits, dressing up, what you should carry. Brazil's not the kind of place where you need to be flashy, quite the opposite. If, look ridiculous, this is a hair steamer. If you are flashy, you draw more attention to yourself, and that makes you more of a victim when it comes to who, you know, you attract and was like robbing and stuff like that. So it's a dressed down place, which is why I love the place so much. You can't really tell who's got money and who doesn't. Now again, if someone, you know, has put themselves a little bit more together, you can subtly tell, but it's not a place in which you can tell who's got money, because people aren't wearing fancy watches and gold chains. If anything, I would I highly recommend that you don't wear any jewelry on your day-to-day basis, and only wear it if you're going to a particular place, and put it on when you're actually there, because that's exactly what I did. I would put it on for my pictures, and when I am in, like I was in the Hilton, Copacabana, then when I got to the entrance is when I put my necklace on, and when I was getting dressed, and I just wanted to see the outfit, because, you know, whether it's fake or not, they don't know that. And if it looks shiny, expensive, then, oh, this looks cheap to you. Just play it safe. Now, will you see people wearing jewelry? Yes, but again, play it safe. When it comes to outfits, It's a dress down place, so linen, your shorts, flowy t-shirts or your crop tops, simple stuff, simple cute stuff. And if you're planning on going to certain restaurants and you want to get dolled up, know where you're going and plan your outfit in advance rather than having stuff in your suitcase that you don't wear, because Brazil is the kind of place that you will want to shop. I have never felt like shopping in the 27 countries that I have been to by God's grace. I have never wanted to shop so much in my life. The quality is high and the prices are so fair. So I really am disheartened that my suitcase was already so full with the things that I carried, because there was outfits I was like, no, I should have worn that. I was even contemplating my birthday dress because I was out there during my birthday. I was even thinking to myself, oh, I could have bought something here for my birthday, because it's that great. The shopping is amazing. Markets, you get handmade clothes there which looks so good, and you know, like, this is a one of a kind. I would definitely recommend the Gloria Market, which happens in Central every Sunday, because you get to see the handmade clothes as well as great food. Also, girlies, don't be so quick to fall in love. Do not be so quick to fall in love with those Brazilian men. They are handsome. Yes, they are handsome. But as much as they're handsome and make you feel like they love you, some of them really do just want what you have to offer. You have to remember that you, as a woman who is solo traveling, you seem relatively stable. And there are things that they could do with that. First of all, they can make you unstable, because they're real good at and I'm not talking from experience, by the way. One thing you do is you learn from other people's mistakes. It was just really up close, watching others go through the motions with it. But yeah, man, like, if it's genuine love and you meet your partner out there, that's one thing. But if it's someone that you're lasting over, like, second think what's really going on. Second think, like, is this just a good time which won't last a long time and I will have to bear the spiritual consequences of this? Or is this genuine love and this man will wait till marriage to undress me, type of thing? Because those men is handsome. And if you're a guy watching it, the women are beautiful. There's something called jobi, and girls will literally, some of them will tell you that they don't hang out with men unless it's jobi. It's kind of like I don't want to call it an escort thing, but you have to kind of pay for their time. So, like, that does happen. So, you know, enjoy your holiday and don't be trying to lead with your lust. Yeah. So to sum up, greet everyone before you speak to them. Be super polite. Be like the most friendly version of yourself. Don't be scared that you're going to be robbed all the time, because honestly, if you think like that, you will look scared, then you look like a target. Just live your vida, live your life. Make sure you indulge in cultural experiences. Yes, be a tourist, and for that reason, as a tourist, get into it. Eat the food, go to the places the Brazilians are going to. Enjoy yourself. The routine that you may have normally, put it in the bin. You know why? Because you're in a place where people run on, okay, let's go. So as much as someone that likes a relative level of structure and order, which I still did keep, there's a level of, okay, let's go. Okay, let's do that then. Should we just go? That you just flow with it. You don't need cash, although if you feel comfortable carrying some, feel free to do so. I didn't even see the cash. I wouldn't even know what it looks like because I used my card the whole time. Portable charger. That's with any trip and anywhere you go to, portable charger. Stay hydrated. Drink coconut water because it's got electrolytes and helps you stay even more hydrated than standard H2O. That's all from me, really. If there's anything that I missed out on, anything that you want to know as a solo black traveler going to Rio de Janeiro, let me know in the comments. If this was useful, let me know. If there's anything else, again, send me a message on Instagram, on TikTok. My @ is exactly the same. It's VERYVALERIE. As for now, thank you so much for making it to the end. Take care of yourself, and I will speak to you soon. Mwah.